Few life stories involve such impossible odds, incredible love and sheer determination as Saru Briley's. Born into a poor family in central India, Saru became lost when he was just 5 years old. A terrifying train ride took him to the other side of the country. Saru ended up among the millions of desperate kids living on India's streets. But the love of a Tasmanian couple offered him a new life. He grew up and prospered as a young Australian, but there was always a yearning for his long-lost family in India. This is the astonishing story of how Saru found them. In the mayhem that is India, it's easy to lose your way. And once lost, many never find their way back home. But after a lifetime of searching, Saru Briley has defied all the odds.
It's a chance once in a billion or million or infinity.
After 26 years apart, Saru is now reunited with the mother he last saw when he was just 5.
It was just such a long time since she held me, and that was just so comforting.
Technology and determination have taken Saru full circle. From a dirt-poor childhood in India to growing up in idyllic Tasmania.
And look where you ended up.
Yeah.
The furthest place from India that you...
I know.
His journey had a beginning he could barely remember.
It was like I could never imagine this to happen in a lifetime.
And an ending he will never forget.
Sometimes miracles do happen, and this is one of them.
This epic tale begins in the most unremarkable of places. A dusty village in central India. Khandwa is where Saru was born and spent the first 5 years of his life.
This should have been your life.
It could have been my life. I could have, not got lost and stayed here, and I would have probably been married by now. With 6 children.
Strange thought, isn't it? How differently your life would have turned out.
Very different.
Saru was born into one of the poorest families in town. His mother, Fatima, had been deserted by her husband. And she struggled just to keep Saru, his sister, and 2 brothers alive.
I could see at times when she sat down in the room, in the dark room where I grew up, and just crying, thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to feed my children? It's a memory that I can't ever forget.
Saru's eldest brother, Guru, was his idol and the closest he had to a father.
He always held my hand when I walked with him. I sort of, put my head up and looked up at him whilst we were walking, and it was just a big smile. It was almost like security, and I'm safe and I'm with him.
One evening, when Saru was just 5, the boys headed for the local railway station to scavenge for food and loose change. It was late and Saru was tired, so Guru told him to rest on a bench, promising to return soon. It was the last Saru would see of his brother.
Well, that's the last memory I've got of him.
Is it a tough one?
Yeah, it is a tough one. Yeah, you know, it's hard for me because, you know, I loved the whole of my family, but I was just so close to my brother.
When Saru woke up all alone, he panicked and jumped on the nearest train, believing Guru must be on board.
There was nowhere to be seen. I was really hoping that he was on the train, but he wasn't. I was so scared.
5-year-old Saru couldn't know that the train would take him nearly 2,000 kilometres across India to one of the most populated and unforgiving cities on earth, Calcutta.
I was so little and everyone was shoving and pulling and I was just a tiny little boy, but I was just running up and down and asking for help.
And there was no one who could help you?
No one. I just cried and cried and called out to my brother, but you know, he was never there.
"26 years later, Saru is retracing his astonishing life. Life on the pitiless streets of Calcutta.
Do you look around at all these little kids, they're dressed in rags, they're skinny, and see yourself?
Yes, I do, but as I remember myself back then, I just had a little shorts and a top that had about 2 or 3 buttons, and that's it, and I was just grimy and dirty as.
Every day was a matter of life and death for little Saru. Twice, he almost drowned while washing in the river. Rescued by strangers. He survived on scraps of stolen food, sleeping on the streets, and trying to avoid the teenage gangs who would beat him.
Don't go somewhere where there's danger. Don't go somewhere where you think bad things are going to happen.
At 5 years of age, you had to rely on your instincts.
Yes, I had to, yeah. You sort of lived a day at a time.
Was there no hope?
Back then, I didn't know what hope was. But ultimately, the thing that I wanted the most was to be with a family. Because I know that I'm not going to find my family again.
Saru would find a family of sorts in this tiny orphanage.
Out of all of those children, do you remember Saru?
I do, because I spent a lot of time with them.
Mrs. Saroj Sood, now in her 80s, was Saru's saviour. One of thousands of lost children she has rescued from the streets of Calcutta.
Is it nice to be walking along holding Mrs. Sood's hand again?
Yes, well, it's just, you know, 26 years ago she was holding my hand
Holding it tight, holding tight.
and taking me to salvation.
And thanks to Mrs. Sood, Saru would get a chance at a new life. With a loving family in faraway Australia.
What did you think when you saw the green trees, the mountains?
There was that wow, you know, oh my God, you know, what is this place here?
A brisk autumn day on Hobart's Derwent River with Saru's parents, Sue and John Briley.
You live on this side, don't you, of the harbour?
Yeah.
A quarter of a century ago, they reached across the world to adopt the boy who became their son.
And all he'd do is just pull the sheet down, have a look around, then he'd go back under again. And I thought, oh, far out, he must be absolutely petrified.
Yes, there was a little mound in the bed. That is our new son.
No, that is my second piece.
Oh, is it?
Saru was now Australian, with two parents who cherished him and his brother Mantosh, who was also adopted from India. Saru excelled at sports, at school, and had lots of friends. But there was still a lost Indian boy inside, whose memory was scattered with unforgettable images of another family, another mother.
When was that moment in your life when you decided, I need to know what happened to them? I need to know where I grew up?
Well, it was always within me. And, you know, when I go to sleep, I'd just project to my mother and sister that I'm still alive, I'm still here. And there will be a day, you know, hoping that we will be together again.
And that hope would have withered and died if not for the arrival of a new technology that offered Saru an intricate view of India from his home in Hobart, Google Earth.
One of my friends said, oh, you should have a look at this, it's Google Earth, it's amazing. But then I just thought, well, I've got such a bank of images and memories. Perhaps I could use this new technology and just at least try it.
But he'd set himself an almost impossible task. Saru was looking for a one-room hut in a country spanning 3 million square kilometres.
And when you look at India, it's so massive, that's impossible.
This is the 7th largest country in the world, and you don't even know the name of the town you're from.
No.
It's madness.
It is.
Total madness.
It is, but I was looking for a specific image. And it's like that image is like a small puzzle. Putting, you know, 2,000, 5,000 picture puzzle together, one of those little puzzle pieces is where you're from.
Coming up,
I think I was just obsessed.
Saru's relentless quest.
When I picked this railway line, I thought I'd just have a go at it.
The agony.
You thought all this searching had come to nothing.
Yeah.
The ecstasy. And the incredible reunion.
He's your son. Take good care of him.
Welcome back to 60 Minutes and the extraordinary story of Saru Briley. At just 5 years old, he lost his family when a train carried him nearly 2,000 kilometres across India. He would have lived the rest of his life a homeless beggar on the streets of Calcutta, if not for a loving Australian couple who adopted him. But Saru never forgot his birth mother, and 20 years later began a search for her. It was a task everyone thought was impossible, but not Saru. In the swirling mass of humanity that is India, a nation of 1.2 billion people and countless towns, Saru Briley is looking for one tiny house in a nondescript village, searching for his Indian family. And to do it, he's using Google Earth.
It's like, how can I use these images in my memory to get myself back to my family, or at least try and find the town that I was from, for starters.
The year is 2006, 19 years after Saru arrived in Australia.
There's no knots in the chain before
No,
you test it.
well, you can see.
By day, the 25-year-old would work with his dad John and brother Mantosh at the family business in Hobart.
That's a nice job.
At night, Saru would go online. He'd spend hours, sometimes not sleeping at all, searching for a needle in a haystack.
Right, so you were following these lines?
Yes, I did, and it was sort of a stab in the dark, this place here. And I zoomed down and I tried to find a railway line.
It's a big place. It really is. And he was so little.
Sue and John Briley adopted Saru when he was 6.
Hand on heart, did you ever truly think Saru would find his birth mother?
Well, I really wanted him to, so I just willed my heart to be with him in success.
But there was a part of you thinking, there's no way.
You didn't really think he had an earthly chance of finding his family.
Calcutta was a starting point.
But Saru was obsessed. Methodically, he traced every railway track out of Calcutta. It was a painstaking process of elimination that took Saru down hundreds, thousands of dead ends. And he didn't just spend weeks or months looking. Saru kept up the hunt for 6 years.
I'd been searching for such a long time that it's just like, you know, what else can I do and where else can I go?
Then, late one night, he traced a single line into India's remote central western region.
When I picked this railway line, I thought I'd just have a go at it and just started tracing it.
Saru was close, very close. Landmarks suddenly flashed between the screen and his memory. A bridge near a dam. A water tower. A station with 3 platforms.
At about 2 o'clock, I found it. And
You just found it?
just like that.
Khandwa, 1,800 kilometres from Calcutta, where Saru's one-way train ride ended up. Could this really be his hometown? There was only one way to know for sure. Saru made the potentially heartbreaking journey halfway around the world. The boy inside led him along the old streets of his childhood.
I had people talking to me in my head. Is this the right place? Even though your legs are taking you on the road that, you know, you used to walk 25, 26 years ago, I was almost at a point where I said to myself, this isn't the place.
Eventually, Saru found where he had once lived. But there was no house, just a pile of rubble.
I just, you know, put my hand on my face and just thought, perhaps the worst is actually what's happened and they're not there anymore. Perhaps my sister's been sold off. Perhaps my brothers are all dead. Perhaps my mother's dead too.
But then a stranger recognised Saru's childhood photo.
And then that person said, come with me, I'll take you now to your mother.
A few steps covered a lifetime. There, at the end of a lane, after 26 years, Saru's mother, Fatima.
You'd found her.
It was such a shock.
You'd really found her.
She came forward and we hugged and I think she was in as much, if not more, shock as I was.
What was that moment like when she first touched you?
It was just so comforting. It was just such a long time since, you know, she held me, and for her it was just, I saw you once and you disappeared and now you've returned like a ghost. You know, how could this ever happen?
At 66, Fatima's warmth and kindness seemed to defy the toughness of her life. Much of it spent in hard labour, carrying bricks on construction sites.
You never gave up hope that he was alive?
I knew it in my heart. In fact, my children always told me to leave this neighborhood and move. But I said, how can I ever go away? When my son comes back, this is where he'll have to find me.
You can never underestimate a mother's love, can you?
It's so powerful. And having her next to me is just great. It's the best.
Fatima, when Saru didn't come home all those years ago, what did you think?
It was devastating. I wish the earth would just open up and swallow me. I missed my son. I was like a mad woman.
But the joy of reunion is tempered by the heartbreak of loss. Finally, Saru learns why his older brother Guru never came back for him that day. Police had discovered his body near the railway line, mangled from the impact of a train.
How did you take that news when you heard that Guru had died that day?
It was the biggest shock that I could have ever had. It was... I sort of found it hard to believe, really. You know, sometimes I think, was it my fault?
Had you spent all those years believing in the bottom of your heart that he was still alive and looking for you?
Yeah. I did. I don't think he would have been a guy that would have given up. You know, he was just like my mother.
For all the sadness, there is so much to celebrate. Saru is reunited with his surviving brother Kalu and his family.
Kalu, nice to meet you. Your big brother.
This is my eldest brother.
And his younger sister, Shakila.
Sister here.
Ah, hello. Last time you saw each other, you were 2 years old.
So I had to take care of her. So I always thought about her and how she was going.
But Saru's family reunion isn't complete quite yet.
I think they're happy to see you.
I think so.
Back in Hobart, Sue is preparing to fly to India for the first time.
How can you thank a woman for what we've enjoyed all these years and what she missed out on? But I'm really going to try and share some of what we had with her son as our son.
How did you find out that he'd found her?
He sent us a text in the middle of the night one night. Oh, it was just, big. It was big. We just sort of leapt out of bed.
You didn't get much sleep that night.
It was just, you know, like we'd won the lottery, really.
In all their life together, there has never been a ride quite like this.
So this is the village where Saru spent the first 5 years of his life.
Now, this is big. This is an experience that I never, ever dreamt I would be having. It's going to be great.
I'm so excited for you, Sue.
Filled with nerves, nothing can prepare Sue for this moment.
Yeah, I'll take it. You can hold on to it. Everything's fine. I'm a big boy. This is my mother, Kamala. Kamala, this is my mother, Sue.
बस बस करो बस नहीं रोते
तुम्हारा बेटा है इतना बड़ा ये देखो इतना बड़ा बेटा है मेरा जिगर के टुकड़े को बहुत परेशान
He is your son. Take good care of him.
Fatima had always hoped that somehow, somewhere, Saru was being cared for, even loved. What's it like to look into the eyes of the woman who gave birth to Saru?
It's very hard. Very hard. But we're just happy to have the moment that just by miracle this has happened.
And this moment helps Sue heal a quiet hurt that she's carried for 26 years. That somewhere, a mother's been mourning the loss of her son.
So I need to know, did you always believe Saru was still alive?
सरू जिंदा है और आएगा
I always knew in my heart that not only was he alive, that he would come back to me one day. That either he would come back to me or I would find him. I always knew this in my heart.
Because even though I prayed at night to send the message, I didn't really know.
But watch your head, Mum.
Sue and Fatima will forever be in each other's lives because of the love they share for Saru. And for now, there is so much to catch up on.
So, Saru, very little, few months in Australia. Starting school. A graduation, finishing secondary school.
Very good.
Well, these are the two women who helped shape the man you are today.
It was just like, this is the mother that had given me birth, and this is the mother that gave me a second chance in life.
For Saru, it has been a long way home. And with plans for him to help educate his nephews and nieces, as well as buy Fatima a new house, Saru's new journey in life with his two mothers has only just begun.
Do you see yourself as an incredibly lucky person?
You know, I couldn't be any more happier than what I am today, and I couldn't be wishing for anything else. What I have now is what I wanted for a long time, and that's it for me.
And Saru has just received Indian citizenship, allowing him to travel to India more often to see his mother and family.